Hi, and welcome back to this course, Introduction to Data Science. In this video, we will introduce you to various common terminologies used in analytics and data science. You might have heard people use a lot of terms like MIS, predictive modeling, machine learning, big data, or forecasting. Sadly, a lot of these terms are used rather loosely, which ends up confusing people, especially beginners. Hence, it is a good idea to understand what these terms mean in general. Having said that, do keep in mind that a lot of times these words are used loosely in industry. So, let us start with the term data science. What is data science? Simply put, data science is the intersection of the two terms data and science. So, data science is an overarching term used to refer the field and practices of bringing out insights from data using specific techniques. So, any scientific method applied to data to extract benefit out of it would be part of data science. Next, let us look at spectrum of how data can be used to create value for any organization and what are the terms associated with these practices. In order to explain this, let me use a simple chart. On my horizontal axis, I represent the value added to an organization, while on my vertical axis, I represent the complexity of doing this practice. So, the first term you might come across is MIS or Management Information Systems. MIS are used in organizations to track what is happening in the organization. For example, in a bank, there would be several MIS or reports, as they are popularly called, which are circulated to report the volume or amount of transactions which have happened in the last day or the last hour. There could be various reports which show the number of new customers acquired or number of customers who are expected to default. Anything which reports what has happened in the past is typically referred to as MIS. Most of the times, MIS answers the question, what has happened? As you can expect, the complexity to create a MIS is relatively low, as you are just reporting things from various systems. The benefit of MIS to an organization is also typically low, as these things have already happened and there is little you can do about it. Here is an example of one such MIS for a bank, sourcing business from several locations. As you can see, a look at this report can tell you several things. It can tell you which are the top cities or regions bringing in business for the bank. It can also tell you how much of this bank is of bad quality. This could be the business which the bank actually doesn't want. For example, you can see Mumbai and Delhi are the top cities for doing business, but the quality of business coming from Delhi is relatively bad. As I said before, this is just a useful start. By itself, a MIS cannot do much. This leads us to the next type of analysis a business can apply. The moment you start asking questions based on the data you are seeing, you create a need to do detective analysis. For example, I can ask, why is the business quality coming from Delhi bad compared to Mumbai? In order to answer this, you would need to perform a detective analysis. You basically go back to the drawing board and start building various hypotheses about why a particular thing is happening. In this particular case, why is the quality of business bad? Compared to a MIS, detective analysis is more complex, but it also adds more value to an organization. In this particular case, you might have multiple hypotheses, like maybe the city of Delhi has different demographic compared to Mumbai, or maybe the people employed in the Delhi offices of this bank are not following the best practices to source business. You will need to analyze each of these hypotheses before you can come up with an answer, and hence the challenge of doing detective analysis. Detective analysis typically answers why has something happened. The next term you might have heard is dashboards or business intelligence. Dashboarding or business intelligence is like the utopia of MIS or reporting. Imagine a world where every action about your business is reflected in front of screens of your business executives. This is business intelligence for you. The important difference between MIS and dashboards is that these dashboards are being created in real time and your management team can use them by themselves to take business decisions. Dashboards are used to answer what is happening now in my business. Here is an example of a dashboard which tells success rate for running collections call center. How many calls are getting a success? What is the total amount collected? All of these questions are answered in near real time for the users of this dashboard. The next term you might have heard commonly is called predictive modeling. What is predictive modeling? So, when you gather all the past data to predict what is likely to happen at a granular level, this is called predictive modeling. For example, in case of a bank, which customer is likely to default in the next 30 days is an answer which will use predictive modeling. In order to do this modeling, you will need to use past data about all the customers and look at the trends and the reasons why customers default. Then use these insights to predict the chances of failure or chances of default for each customer you have today. Predictive analytics typically answers the question what is likely to happen at a granular level. The next common term you might have heard is big data. Big data is nothing but a stage where the complexity of handling the data goes beyond the traditional systems. This could be because of increased volume, different variety, or velocity of data. You need specific tools and techniques to analyze data at such scale, and hence it is very complex. But it also adds a lot of value to any business. Here is a brief recap of how all these terms map to the spectrum and what they do in order to help a business. Another common question which I receive is the difference between forecasting, predictive modeling, and machine learning. Let me try and answer that. Forecasting is a process of estimating the future based on past and present data. It is usually done at an aggregate level. For example, how many customers will fly on a particular flight, or how many calls can we expect in the next hour, are forecasting problems. You need an answer at an overall level to plan your business accordingly. This is how the outcome of forecast typically looks like. You would see the expected demand, which is the thick orange line in between, but you also see the upper bound of the demand and the lower bound of the demand. And once you have this, you can go about planning your business accordingly. However, if you need anything more granular, you would need to look at predictive modeling. For example, if I am interested in knowing which of my customers are likely to travel by the next flight and who are likely to cancel, you will need to perform predictive modeling. Similarly, if you want to predict which customers are likely to buy a product in the next month, this would be based on predictive modeling. The outcome of predictive modeling would typically look something like this. At a customer level, you will predict the probability of a particular outcome and then take the actions accordingly. Finally, one of the most common buzzwords you would hear today, what is machine learning? Machine learning is a method of teaching machines to learn things and improve predictions based on data on their own. For example, creating an algorithm which continues to become better based on consumer behavior is an application of machine learning. All the big systems like Google Search or Amazon recommendation system use machine learning to make themselves better as they collect more and more data. If you come across any more terms which you're not sure of, you can use the glossary on Analytics Vidya to look up about these terms. The link to the glossary has been provided in the course notes below. Now that you know a lot of these terms, let us look at some of the applications of data science. This is what we'll discuss in the next video. Thank you and see you in the next video.